Hi everyone. In my previous session, we talk about the small business, the JIPC, this event management company, how they're doing their business, the Colleen, and then this just imagination party company, how they are actually professional actors dressed like princess and everything, how they are gonna introduce their program, and then what are the items they are selling, cakes, and not only the service, they are selling even cake bakery items and gifts and everything. We talk about the first question in the previous session. So today I'm going to mainly discussing the other questions. The question number 2 I'm going to start today. Outline the importance of gathering qualitative data for JIPC when conducting a market research. When gathering information, outline question. If think about the command note outline questions, always outline questions come for 2 marker, which means you have to write 1 mark for the knowledge part, 1 mark for the application. So this is actually application based question. Outline the importance of gathering qualitative data when you're conducting a market research. They're asking the importance of qualitative data. There are 2 categories of data we can gather, quantitative as well as qualitative. So I'll tell the difference between, first of all, the quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative means something like a numerical value, which has, for example, it can be a number, it can be the price, it can be the age, income, it can be sometimes a number related to the distance, it can be something kind of like a numerical value, like so mainly salary, something like that. So quantitative information are easy to analyze and easy to gather, and then it's very specified. But qualitative factors also very important. Qualitative factors means the qualitative data means the data that you gather from customers related to the opinions, their judgments. Sometimes we are talking about their, what do you think about the cake? What do you think about the quality of these actors? What do you think about the quality of this event? What do you think about the music, like that? So if you ask this question from different parents, different customers who visited to this company, this business, they will give different products. Some people say, I like the cake, but I don't like the music. Some people say, I like the costumes, but I don't like the cake. Some might be say, I like the music and I like the costumes and I like this excellent organizing. Some people might give excellent comment. Some people might give average comment. Some people might give the worst comment, like that. So qualitative information is are there. But the problem here in the qualitative information, you can't, difficult to analyze and difficult to not like quantitative data. It will be take some time. It will, because judgments and evaluation is depends on person to person, customer to customer. The qualitative data is different. So when you're conducting a market research, when you're gathering, analyzing, and presenting information to the taking marketing decisions, qualitative data is important. In this case, you can say we should ask from the customers, especially the parents who actually celebrate their child's birthday, about the feedback about the gathering, conducting market research. So qualitative information. In this case, you can see the quality of the costume, the quality of the food and the cakes. You can see the quality of music and so on. Like that, you have to give some example from the case and then give importance of conducting that, collecting that qualitative factor is they can actually get a good idea about the customer feeling and customer satisfaction. And because in case if they give a poor customer service, then their business will fail at the end. Therefore, it is very important to get the customer feedback at the end of the event, because they have to analyze even the numbers, like a numerical information is also there, but especially there are so many judgments, opinions, kind of information we can collect. For example, if you go to a hotel, so when you actually checkout point, they are giving some questionnaire to fill. So you have to talk about their food, their like a room service, and their other surrounding the garden and other facilities. Everything you have to give some kind of a rating and comment. So this qualitative information is important for them to make a future decisions. That's why, such as if the customers say the costumes are not good, then they can take a decision. The Colleen can think about the redesigning their costumes like that. If people doesn't like the music, the play during the party, so then they can Colleen can reconsider of actually changing the music. Or sometimes some people might like to give some playlist, the music they like to play during their child's birthday, like that. So you can see that's really important when you're writing this kind of a question. you have to always give the point to the relevant to the case study material, and then you have to explain that by one single sentence. This is important. Qualitative information such as the quality of music, quality of costume, quality of the cake are important to get that feedback in order to prevent customer dissatisfactions in the future events like that. Okay, let's go to the next question. 3 markers. There are a lot of 3 markers. Normally in standard IGCSE paper, there are 5 3-mark questions are coming. 5 3-mark questions, which count total 15 marks. Usually 3-marker questions normally designed to check your knowledge skills, which is AO1, assessment objective 1, knowledge. So this question, Colleen realizes that providing customer satisfaction is very important to the success of the JIPC, the business name, and explain the importance of customer satisfaction to JIPC. So in this case, you can just write a general answer because you don't need to link to the JIPC. But the question they have given with the Colin realizes this customer satisfaction, you can see without considering Colin, you can give a general answer for this kind of a question because they're asking explain question. So, so this case, you can say customer satisfaction is important for any business organization. As the customer is the key for the success of the business, because when the customers are happy, the business will continue because they do repeat purchase. If customers are dissatisfied, then the business will lose their sales, and then business eventually fail because of the lack of finance and the lack of income because of losing customers. As a result of that, you can see the business it has to mainly think about the customer satisfaction in order to survive. Like that, you have your reasons in at least 3 interrelated, like a linking points, you have to say, as I mentioned earlier. You can use a model like PLT, or because this leads to, therefore, or something, or therefore, because, therefore, like that. Different linking points you can use. So, but at least for 3-mark question, you have to write 3 development points. Develop 1 point. Why customer satisfaction is important? Because you can see customers are the key stakeholder of any business organization. Without customer, you can say what going to be happen for the business organization, and with the customers, what they can do. So like that, that's the kind of explanation we're expecting from you, like that. And then at the end, you can say, therefore, customer satisfaction is important for the survival of any business organization. So when you're answering explain question, you don't need to apply the case study, the context. So that also keep in mind, right? Another explain question is there, part C. You can see the question number 2, part C. In JIPC, a great deal of communication is likely to be informal. Explain why. This section from human resource management, we talk about the communication under that chapters. Great deal of communication is important, and they say it's likely to be informal. Explain why. Communication can be happen formal ways and informal ways. Formal communication normally take place between sender and the receiver. You are going to formally address some kind of a message about a meeting. It can be about some kind of a discussion. It can kind of a reminder. It can be kind of a sometimes you wanted to give kind of a message to the employees to come and something like that. But this kind of any like a small businesses, they are using informal communication method. Like most of the time, I think they are using informal method. There are 2 different kinds of methods. I told you, formal and informal. If you send a letter, if you send a memo, if you send an email, like that kind of a thing, we call a messenger. Those are formal methods. But informal methods mean there is no specific, like a communication method. It can be it's come from like a grapevine. It can be come from as a rumor. That kind of information. It can be through social media. Someone sharing some information to someone. So it can be come through another message. It's not like controlled by the organization. Uncontrolled channels are involved. It's called informal communication. So there is no specification. There is no control. There is no like a format. And there is no systematic flow of information in informal communication. Informal communication can be used a couple of examples like gossips, rumors. We call like a grapevine that the content. And also we talk about informal communication such as social media. Someone can say just WhatsApp message can send, and there are some group chats. Social media such as Twitter. Someone tweet is with someone, and someone can use another message to the messenger. Someone can post some kind of a share information like that. So sometimes sometimes some people can meet sometimes public places. It can be a supermarket, it can be a gym or somewhere, and they can talk about something. Those are the like informal method of communication. Whatever the business, small or large organization, this informal communication take a great deal of communication. The question asking, this communication, the great deal of communication is informal. Explain why. So I think in my explanation, I have gave the answer. Informal communication, you have to say what is informal communication is where the business organization doesn't have any control over the dissemination of the messages. So in this case, informal communication such as social media, private chats, it can be rumors, gossips, and everything are happening in most of the time around the business organization and outside the business organization. Therefore, humans are social, and very social, animals, and you can see like humans and customers and suppliers, their communication and their links and everything are very complex. So therefore, in organization, always their communication cannot control. There is a systematic way of communication, but unsystematic communication or informal communication is always this happening. So the company doesn't have any control over that kind of information, but they can monitor. So like that you have to explain. Therefore, informal communication is important. Sometimes it's more speeder than sometimes formal communication, but company must have some kind of a monitoring process, like some kind of like an overview. They must actually observe what kind of information are spreading about the business. And because it's important, sometimes it can be a false information. It can be a information which damage the company's business reputation. So this kind of thing must be always monitored carefully. And if there is that kind of like a wrong message or wrong information spreading, you have to control. So therefore, this question, this great deal of communication is informal because there are so many channels involved in the communication. You can give examples such as gossips, such as social media, such as day-to-day discussions. So as a result of that, the business actually, a lot of businesses and they are using informal communication channels because of the human nature. So as a result, it is more important. Like that, you can give 3 examples interrelated to get that answer. Another explain question is there. Usually question number 2 consists of like a 3 explain questions. In a systematic, like a normal IGCSE paper, there are 5 explain questions are there. So 3 out of 5 explain questions are coming in question number 2. Question number 2 consists of like a 2 state questions, 3 explain questions, and 1 9-mark question. So that's the format of a 2-mark. Second question. So look at this question. If JIPC does expand, it will need to increase its promotion. Using an example, explain how JIPC could use viral advertising as a method of promotion, right? This kind of a question, this time, we are going to actually cover the promotion and place, in after, last week of the June and July, beginning of the July and last week of the June. Therefore, but I'll give the answer for this kind of question. Viral advertising, why it is important. Explain how they can use viral advertising to method of promotion. Viral advertising means you are mainly using kind of the help of a social media and or internet, and you're going to promote the message. Advertising media, sometimes we call search engine optimization. This kind of techniques they can use, like a viral advertising, or sometimes you can use the help of a professional YouTuber, and then you can make some kind of promotion like advertisement, and they can with the sponsorship of another YouTube channel, then you can actually spread the message, and it can be viral. Viral means people are spreading that information with their friends and family. It can be comes through the WhatsApp message, like a chain message service. Some people are spreading that. So viral means, a lot of people start like looking and sharing the message that's gone viral. So viral become like a trending at the end. Then trending become like a message becomes so much popular, popular, and then companies advertising target will be covered at the end. So it will be the viral message advertising. That promotion technique is a very a cheaper method, but you must give a message very attractive way, because otherwise people do not going to share it. So people sharing a message, if in case if they have only some benefit only, sometimes you can see sometimes false messages coming. Okay, spread this message to another 10 of your friends, and you will get a 1,000 rupee reload or something, 1,000 rupee gift voucher or something. So people are, without knowing that actually it's a fake information, they are going to spread this message to another 10 people. So like that, and those 10 people will spread the message to another 100 people. Like that, it will be going like a viral, like a chain message service. So at the end, what happened? No one will get a reward. It's just a fake information. But at the end, the company, their advertising objective, they have already accomplished. That's what happens. So this kind of viral messaging, it's a cheaper method. If you're using a social media or YouTube channel or WhatsApp message, or it can be something with the help of internet. If we can use this one, then it will be very popular. So more customers, more market share can be covered, like this kind of a thing. So, so more of this kind of advertising techniques we'll cover in coming weeks. After your examination, we are going to cover the promotion and other things after that. So we'll go to the 9-mark question. Right. Basically, a 9-mark question. Before we are discussing this, I'll explain you the structure of the 9-mark question again. When you are writing a 9-mark question, always the command one is justify. Justify why you have selected this option and rejected the other. So when we are writing a 9-mark question, you have to pick one option. There are 2 options always they are giving the examination. 2 options they are giving. So I'll show you one of the like examples of a 9-mark question. This question they say, Colleen consider hiring new workers as trainee actors. She knows that some of the new workers she will employ will require training as they have never worked as actors before. Sometimes she hires some kind of a trainee actors without a proper, they are not professional actors, but because of for trainee actors, you don't need to give that much of money because they are trainees, like apprenticed. So she knows it, and she actually hired those actors because I think for a birthday party, you are not expected to do like a professional act. Only just you have to wear like a princess, or you have to wear like a pirate or something, and then you have to do a small act. But you have to give some kind of a training before they go to the audience because they are nervous. Sometimes they will be panic. So because of that, I think she has to train those new workers before they perform. So Colleen, considering these training options, first one is mentoring by a very experienced actor. So that means you are hiring some kind of a mentor or trainer to actually teach them how to act. So it's become like acting, like a drama school. So there's someone actually are inviting a professional actor and then tell them, okay, this is the way you have to acting. In this case, like a role play, you are telling them, okay, this is the way you have to act. So you have to pay the guy, the trainer, who actually getting the help. The second option, they call a new staff to be trained by a drama academy. So which means the Colleen has to send these new actors for a drama academy and then tell them, okay, you have to do like a one week course or 1 day, 2 day workshop. Go to that workshop, I'll pay you, take that workshop and come back. So that's another thing. So a workshop, sending to workshop. So we can see this kind of a true training methods about on-the-job training and off-the-job training. On-the-job training and the off-the-job training. We discussed this kind of training categories. On-the-job means when the people like this kind of situation, when you have an experienced actor, you tell them, experienced one, to actually act, do the rehearsals and tell them what to do. And off-job means you are sending them for a drama academy, for a workshop or something, and then bring them back for their events. So both methods have their advantages and disadvantages. So you have to pick one option and then have to write the method for 9-mark structure is 2-1 method. 2-1. That means you have to write at least 2 advantages and 1 disadvantage of the selected option. So no definition and no conclusion is expected for a 9-mark question. The 9-marker is normally like a short answer question, like like 18 lines, 20 lines maximum. Therefore, imagine if you pick option 1, mentoring by a very experienced actor. This is similar to on-the-job training. So you will get an idea for advantage of on-the-job training. Training cost will be minimum because you have to pay only for the mentor for his time, like a 1 hour, 2 hour workshop. And then it will be more convenient and more suitable because the actors, trainee actors are getting all the mentoring program, the workshop being done at the same platform. The audience, they are doing in the rehearsals and everything, they are doing in the same working conditions. On stage, everything they are practicing, they are performing, rehearsal, everything they are doing in the actual stage, they have to perform for the birthday party. Therefore, they are very familiar. They will be not be nervous. They know what to do, how's the lightings and everything coming, how to actually properly the voice control, everything you can manage because they are working in the real working condition. Therefore, it is very advantage for them to prepare the for the act and everything, all the acts and everything they can properly they can manage these acts and everything. So because of their working in the real working conditions. Another advantage of on-the-job training means the workers actually they can actually by doing this on-the-job training, the colleague also can find out what is their weaknesses and they can actually correct at the same time. But somehow that's why mainly it's cheaper to organize, and sometimes it will be more real working conditions. They will be able to act and everything. Therefore, very advantageous for them. However, point you can say the disadvantage of on-the-job training. On-the-job training sometimes is very stressful for the worker. Sometimes they will be sometimes scolded by the colleague. Sometimes the mentor comes and sometimes shouting at them. So sometimes these acts and everything can be because they are nervous. No, sometimes they might have panic. Some people might get panic attacks. So this kind of situation, sometimes they might be nervous and excited to because they don't know what to do in the stage. So then sometimes they might be get shouted by the other people, and then they will be in a situation of a little bit stressful situation because they are working in actual working environment. On the job training is like that. Imagine the evening you have a function and you are just recruited, and within 2 hours you have to go to the stage. So you'll be a little bit nervous, definitely, right? Like that, you have to talk about like that. Definitely, what kind of a thing that the actors experiencing. Moreover, you can say the on-the-job training will be sometimes, it will be stressful for the other workers. Sometimes the new actor forget the lines in the stage. They don't know what to do and everything. So other actors and sometimes the reputation of the colleagues can be good because they don't know how to balance it. So sometimes it will be stressful for the workers, and it will be sometimes they make the reputation of the JI, this PC, the company, Collins Business, this party company, reputation also will be damaged. That's right. So mainly when you're writing for a question like this, take one single option, write 2 advantages and 1 disadvantage you can talk. And then you can say overall, this option will be better because of these. Give some kind of option 1. The should be selected because the advantage outweigh the disadvantages. We pick the option number 2, like an academy, drama academy course. That is sometimes we call off-the-job training program. So that advantage is mainly actors professionally, they are getting a professional certificate, they are quality training workshop they are getting at the end. So they will be their acting and everything are not disturbed by the real working condition, and their stress level also very low, and they can properly under proper instructors, they can get the training of the how to act and everything. But the problem in this case is the Colleen. So she's a small business owns, that lady owns a small business. I don't think she can afford this kind of a thing because new workers you are sending to drama academy for workshops and everything, and she is not sure whether actually they are working and they are coming back. So sometimes they are leaving after that. So this kind of risk are there. So to talk about that, off-job training is okay, the quality acting, quality training, and is sometimes workers, they are not really nervous at the end, so we can get the professional output from them. However, it will be expensive for the colleague to bear. Therefore, sometimes you can say this will be difficult for her to manage in the beginning. Right, like that. So that's how we write a 9-mark question. So that is the end of the question number 2. Fine. Let's go to the large business category. So this case, we have a large business Adidas. Part 2, investigating large businesses. Read the case study. You can see Since it was established in Germany in 1949 by Adolf Dassler, Adidas has been synonymous with the sporting industry, right? I think you can see right now, I think there is a 2020 movie release called Adidas versus Puma. It was actually their biographies. You can see the Adidas, Puma, actually they are brothers, Adolf Dassler and the Rudolf Dassler. They actually started this business in the beginning as the shoe company, and later on they split the company. They separate their business, and then the youngest one also the Adidas, Adolf Dassler. He continues from this business called Adidas, Adolf business, Adidas. Another one, Rudolf Dassler, his nickname is called Puma because he's a marketing guy. He's a person who have a lot of marketing skills and everything. You can see that in their story, what's going on. So Adolf mainly is a product-oriented person. He wants to see the quality of the shoe and mainly the quality and the competitive advantage, everything. He's thinking a lot of quality factor when you're selling a shoe. But Rudolf Dassler, the brother, is just a marketing and the businessman. So he doesn't care about the quality that much. So their ideas at the end become very controversial, and they were at the end, after a few years, they actually separated in their own way. They actually started two factories, and they continue their factories like that. So now they're the market leaders. So this industry, you can see that it's a global public company, and it's one of the largest sports brand in the world, employing over 46,000 people worldwide. Yes, it's actually started, from the mainly from the Denmark, mainly the Adolf and Rudolf Dassler. You can see they are mainly, I invited you to actually watch that movie, and then you can actually learn a lot of their biographies, learn about these people. The business people are really important. This is a story about the large multinational company. As a market-oriented organization, Adidas continuously identifies and reviews consumer needs and ensures its product to meet needs. Sport marketing is a key focus for Adidas marketing mix. Yes, because you can see Adidas mainly their market segment is the sportsman. Even Nike also same, right? And also the Adidas, London is a key focus for the sportswear market for both performance and sportswear and sports fashion. London 2012 gave Adidas a platform to target its audience, but with a global reach, the sponsorship deal obtained by Adidas was the broadcast set of sportswear right in Olympic history. It became the official sportswear partner of the London Games and exclusive license of the branded Adidas plus London 2012, an event branded London 2012 only clothing. You can see actually then they started that in the Germany. The Adidas, the Rudolf Dassler, Adolf Dassler, they are German origin, and then the factory, they was first of all they want to promote they want to sell the shoes in Germany. So at that time there was a Cold War going on, the Second World War, everything happened. So actually, but Adolf Dassler, the Adidas guy, he actually offer his shoes to the Americans at that time. So they've been Olympic gold medals, like some athletes by wearing the Adidas shoes. And after that, his brand name became world famous after that event. But he got so much of pressure from the his own country, because they say they are going to support other countries, right? As a local company, first of all, you should actually support your local athletes. Like that. So there are so many things, when you become an entrepreneur, there are so much of threats and barriers. So many things are there to follow. So at one time, his business going to actually almost bankrupt, and the government actually stopped everything, all of his business lines, and then told him to, okay, you don't need to produce other shoes. You have to produce the military boots. That's your order, only order for the war. So like that. So many things are there. So at the end, this 2012 Olympic game was like a turning point for their business because it became official partner for the sporting equipments. Okay, this question number 3 MCQ. You also can actually participate with this. You can send the answer through our chat lines. Question number 3, part 1. Identify possible disadvantage of operating Adidas store as a franchisee. It's the first term thing. Disadvantage of a franchise business. The cost of the initial investment can be lower. Actually, that's a cost of initial investment lower. It's the wrong answer. Franchise have to take out a patent. It can access help and advice from the franchise owner, and lack of freedom for the owner in making decisions. Yeah, I can see a couple of answers popping up. One person gave a correct answer. Yeah, no, two people. The correct answer is a D. Lack of freedom for the owner in the making decisions. Yeah, D is the correct answer. Right? D, lack of freedom, because franchise business, you don't have a freedom to make decisions. You always have to follow the franchise ideas and agenda. You can't make own decisions. You have to always hear to your parent company. So what they are saying, you have to follow that instructions. You don't have an ability of making decisions. Okay, question number 2. This is human resource management. In a job adverts published by Adidas states that applicants must have at least 10 years work experience. This is an example of discrimination on the grounds of which characteristics? 10 years work experience. So this is an example of what discrimination? So I can see a couple of answers coming. A, gender. B, race. C, age. D, sexual preference. So I can see, yeah, everyone gave the correct answer. Answer is C. Very good. Right, age, because 10 years work experience means definitely after 10 years, imagine after finishing your school, high school, university, everything, you must be like 20, 25. So if you start a company and if you are working in a business and with the 10 years experience, you might be like a 35. So what about the young people then? Like people who are starting like 20s, 25, 27, these people can't apply for this job because 10-year work experience they don't have. So, or other things without saying experience, you can say like, like people above 50 don't apply like that. This kind of examples are illegal according to because they are violating the age discrimination. Gender discrimination, or sometimes we call sex discrimination. Gender means sometimes you are favoring only one person. In this advertisement, if they say only for male applicants only, that means they are only asking to apply for the males. That is, they are violating the gender discrimination. That means females are not have any chance to apply. So that is violating this one. Race means if you are asking for the people only British can apply, then what happen? That's another example of race they are violating. They are asking only British. So what about other race? And what about the African? What about the if it's USA? So what about the other people? Like what about Hispanic people? So what about the Mexicans? So like that, you can't mention any race in your advertisement. So which means you are making unnecessary problems like that. So this is an example of an age discrimination for that, right? Other one is part 3. Adidas use questionnaire to estimate the number of potential customers for the business. In market research, questionnaire method we are using in one particular market research. This approach is an example of which type of market research? A, primary. B, quantitative. C, secondary. D, segmentation. Questionnaires you are using, yeah, I can see some answers are coming. Answer for question number 3 is questionnaires we are using primary research, not the quantitative. Adidas use questionnaires to estimate the number of potential customers for the business. This is an example of which type of research. There are only 2 types, primary or secondary. So it's a primary market research. We are using questionnaires, using focus group, right? We are using all that method, observations, test marketing, all that methods we are using in a primary research. Secondary research, we are using other things like newspapers, magazines, the government publications and other reports, everything we're using secondary level. Okay. Here we go. A state question. State the meaning of a public company. State the meaning of a public company. So in this case study, Adidas is a public limited company, Adidas PLC. So which means a public company, Adidas has a shares in the London Stock Exchange or New York Stock Exchange. You can see Adidas is a public limited company, which means they have shares trading in the New York Stock Exchange. So you have to make sure you are using the Adidas format. Adidas shares can be traded in the London or New York, or you have to mention the city. So just the name of Adidas is not just application. So you take the 1 mark, you have to use some kind of format of the, let's say, their shares of the Adidas company traded in the London Stock Exchange or something. So every public company, their shares can be traded in the stock exchange. So you have to write that. Okay. So next question is outline question. Outline one importance of financial objectives to Adidas. Objective, let's say one objective can be profit maximization, financial objective, how it is important. So financial objectives are important for Adidas in order to make more shoes or to expand their franchise shoe shops into other countries. So therefore, financial objectives always they deserve higher profit margin, and they can accomplish their growth strategies of the making new shoes or designing and research and development. So they are doing more research and they are giving more sponsorships for the cricket teams now, football, basketball players. They are giving like $1 million value sponsorship, $1 million. So therefore, financial objectives are really important in order to accomplish those targets. You can see expansion targets of the other countries. You can see in order to promote the business by using advertising. By you can say like some people like basketball players are sponsored by Adidas. Football players, football clubs are sponsored by Adidas. Therefore, they need money to spend those things. Therefore, it is important that financial objectives is really important for them to, to make sure that they are so they are accomplishing their objectives. The financial support is really important. Therefore, financial objectives such as market share maximization, profit maximization are important in order to accomplish these 4 objectives. You can say like increase the number of shops of Adidas shoes, increase in the promotions by using their money, sponsoring the football clubs and everything. You can say these are the applications. So without application, only you can go like a only 1 mark. So make sure you are writing application in your question paper. Right. Another outline question. Outline one benefit to Adidas of operating in more than one country. That is asking what is the advantage of being a multinational company for Adidas. Yeah, you can actually say being a multinational company, you can actually exploit economies of scale. You can actually find the raw materials from different countries. For example, for shoes, you can take the rubber from Sri Lanka, or you can take the fabric materials from say Dubai or Thailand, or you can make the selling into large markets like India, and you can sell like a USA or China. You can see because of their population like that, you can take a lot of examples, the advantage of multinational company. Yeah, one good example, I think one student actually sending in chat line, they reduce the production costs by moving production line to a cheaper countries like China. Yeah, very good. That's a good point. Like production of a cost they are moving, they can reduce the production cost by moving production line of shoes or production line of their, let's say Adidas clothes, Adidas bags, and more application you can use there. And then and to cheaper countries like China, or resources can be found, right? Always try to use the application. So that's a good answer. By operating in more than one country, they can actually have those facilities. Production costs can be minimized, and more market share can be exploited. And sometimes raw materials can be found easily, cheaply, and then you can find cheap labor from some countries to manufacture their sports equipments. So always mention a sports equipment or their brand, everything, right? Their whatever their product portfolio. You can write down the application, those things. Okay, now we are going to 3 marker. Explain question. Analyze one benefit of using social media for market research purpose of Adidas. So no need of application there. Market research, you can, a lot of people are these days actually in online. You can see than ever before. Online research is really convenient by using WhatsApp apps are there. Sometimes, like there's a websites are there, like Facebook, you can use some questionnaire things. So this questionnaires, everything, you can do so much of research, and also specific, not only primary research, even secondary research. By Googling, you can find so much of research articles, like by typing anything, by Googling it, there are so many search engine resources are there. that you can use as a secondary market research. Therefore, market research is very easy and convenient by using social media. Especially, you can talk about the social media platforms here as examples, such as WhatsApp or Facebook or Twitter. So they can use like questionnaires and everything. They can send online to the social media, and then can get the customer feedbacks quickly for them for this thing. For just one press, just one tap is enough for them to get the feedback from the social media. There are certain platforms are there to use this social media for market research purpose, right? Explain one benefit of Adidas of using autonomy as a method of application. Autonomy means sometimes benefit of Adidas using autonomy as a method of motivation. Autonomy means as a non-financial method of motivation. There are three non-financial methods of motivation: autonomy, or we call freedom of decision making, or we call job enrichment and job enlargement and job rotation. These are the methods of non-financial methods which is not involving any monetary thing. The financial methods of motivation, like bonus, incentives, piece rate, right? And then commissions, performance related pay. These are financial methods of motivation. Non-financial methods are autonomy, right? Job sharing, job rotation, right? Job enrichment, job enlargement. These terms are the non-financial. So this is a non-financial method of autonomy, means giving the workers a responsibility, authority to make their own decision. For example, the person who actually operate the machine can control the speed. Speed can be controlled by himself. If he is tired or something, he can reduce the speed. If you feel you can work faster, you can increase the speed. So he can monitor. He can actually control his speed of the machine, the conveyor belt. So that's kind of example you can give, like autonomy, but no need of application to, for example, question definite. So autonomy will be give the freedom for the worker to make his own decisions and choices. Therefore, he will be motivated by making his own decisions without actually blaming for others. Therefore, it increases the motivation level of the workers because he feels that he can do something by his own. So like that, that's how you have to apply for this kind of a question. Right. So there are other more questions, guys. So I will discuss that one. We'll discuss in my next session. So we are going to actually have this discussion. One more question is there, the last question. We are going to discuss that in my next session. So that today discussion, we mainly talk about how to including 1 9 marker, 6 marker, 3 markers. We discuss that. So we'll see you in my next session with that other discussions.